we're going to do one more practice part together, and we're doing the one, well, let me just go show you. We're doing this one in particular because it has all of this hatching. Hatching is a way to show that there's a section, so we're showing a view of a slice through an object. And this one also has a bunch of little details that are going to be kind of fun to make. So let's get rocking. The first thing that I see on here, or the first thing that I'm going to want to try to create is this outside border, this outside edge here. You'll notice that they have a heavier line weight for all of this outside stuff. I'm not going to do that for this one, but we'll talk about that at some point in time. There's a little note here that says all fillet radii is 3 units. Okay, great. So I've got this 98 across the top, 98, 13. You know, I'll bet this section right here, yeah, this section here can be mirrored until we get to this, or until we get to here. So that's what I'm going to start with. So this is 25 up. Well, let me just start with that first one. So we'll go 98 units. Whoa, it's so giant. That's okay. I'm gonna move it up a little bit further away from everything else. So 98. Go 13 down on both sides. We're 44 across here. So I think I'm gonna use a guide to basically to get that dimension. So 24, 25, so 13, and then some distance in, and then 25 down. So 44. I'm going to give myself a vertical line. So I'm going to use an X line, XL, spacebar, V for vertical, and then I'm going to place that at the center line. That's also going to give me a place to put this 44. And we'll move that into its vertical position after we have those other 2 dimensions. It's 13 down and then 25 in. So polyline 13. Oh, and then we go to some point here, right there, and then 25. Now I can move this into place right there. And this, I should be able to just mirror it around this center line. Now I have both sides. Here I can see that this is 62. Again, there should be some better dimensioning here, but we're just going to go with it. We're going to assume that all of this is centered around this axis. So 62 is the outside, and then 42 is the inside here. 62. And I'm just going to draw it out of place and then put it on this line somewhere. Oop. So I don't have the O-snap turned on to be able to snap to that. So if I shift right click, that's going to bring up my O-snap filtering. And I'm going to just say click. Is parallel the one I want? Yeah, it is. Look at that. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't want to work. Let's try perpendicular. Nope, parallel was the one. Great. Okay, this center thing is 25. It goes down, and then there's a 45-degree chamfer at the end. So I've got 13 plus 12 is 25, plus 25 is 50, which means that it's 50 to this point, and then there's a 45-degree chamfer. And then from the bottom of that chamfer, that's not very easy to figure out. Well, I'll come back to that. Let's start working on this side here. So I've got 36 from the corner here that I just created out to the edge, and then a 62 diameter, circle with a 50, and then a 25. All those are diameters. So 62, 50, and 25. So let's go ahead and create those. And I've forgotten them already. 62, 50, 25. So I'm going to start my circle command, diameter 62, spacebar to repeat the command, diameter 50, spacebar to repeat the command, diameter spacebar 25. And then 36 out from the bottom of that 25. So from right here, $36. I'm going to need a polyline that goes 36. And then all of these I can move in once, do that. I might be tempted to go ahead and start to trim this, but not quite yet. I need to have this line in there as well, and I don't have a dimension for that line at the moment. I do know that the distance from this to this is 12. And I do know that this goes out to 62. Was this my 62? Yeah, this is the 62. So I'm going to move this down to there. I'm going to use a polyline to create that. Don't know what that length is supposed to be, but that's okay. Now I'm going to drop in a vertical so that I can then trim this half of the circle and make that go away. Oh, that's not what I even needed to do. Undo all of that because that's just a bunch of hogwash. Okay, I will need to trim it here though. But I'll need to figure this out first. So let's see, that's you know, they really didn't dimension this all that well. It's kind of annoying. I do need this horizontal line across here from that second circle, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, this line here is 42 up from this line here. So I'm just going to duplicate this line. So that's copy and then type 42, and that should put it 42 up from where it was. Now I can trim this and get rid of all of those. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. This is 50, so that's a rectangle that's 42 tall by 50 wide. REC for rectangle. 50 wide, 42 tall. And it is centered here, I think. Let me take a look at that. Yep. Okay. I'm going to isolate this so I can chamfer it really quick. So to do that, I'm going to say ISO, or for isolate objects. And I said chamfer, I totally meant fillet. And I'm going to set the radius at 3 because it told me to in the drawing. And I'm also going to select M for multiple. And I'm going to click around here. Boom. All the fillets are done. And then I'm going to type unisolate. And there we go. Okay. Do I still need this line? Let's see. I do on this side. I don't on this side. So let's go ahead and get rid of it. I'm just going to hit that. And actually, I'm going to... I really want to trim it from here. Or I can just do that. Lovely. Yeah. Okay, we do have this fillet. This opening is 25 wide. Do I have that line in there? Not yet. And I don't really have a height for that yet either. So maybe what I'll do to create that is give myself a rectangle that is 25 wide, and I'm just going to pick 45 tall for now, and then I can just adjust that in a second. Great. So I'm just going to stretch this like that, and then I'm going to trim this away. So I have these two things, and then I'm going to fillet. Nope. I'm going to chamfer. And let me see what 3 looks like. I don't think 3 is correct. I'm going to do chamfer. I'm going to type D to put in the distance, and I'm going to say 1 and 1. Because that's my best guess as to what that's actually supposed to be. Great. That looks lovely. And you'll notice that this actually went ahead and joined those two things together, which is interesting. Okay. There is a line here that I need to draw in. Oh, I think I probably just deleted those, and I really shouldn't have. That's okay. Okay, there's those two lines. There's a line across the bottom, and then there's this here that's 42 wide and then some distance tall. I don't have a total height yet, so it's 75 plus 25 plus 13. That's 113. I'm just gonna give myself a guide. 113. And I put the leg of that out to the other side to remind myself that it needs to go away later. All right, I'm gonna make a rectangle that is 42 wide, that is, I don't know, 20 tall, and I will put that here. And I'm gonna use point filtering to put it at the right height without having to like rely on this thing. You absolutely can, but this is just another way to do it. I use point filtering almost exclusively in 3 dimensions because the extension lines on the O-snaps just don't work as well. So when you're using point filtering, basically you're telling the computer that you're going to give it the value of either the X coordinate or the Y coordinate or the Z coordinate. And you do that by putting dot and then whichever axis you want to establish. So in this case, I want to establish that the vertical position is lined up here. So I'm going to type dot Y spacebar, and then I will click here on that O-snap, and then I can establish the other things based on some other O-snap. And you'll notice that as I drag this across, because I've already given it the Y coordinate, I just have to give it the location left to right or the X coordinate. So I do that, that lines up. I'm gonna move, well, not move, but stretch this like that. And then let's start doing some trimming to get this cleaned up. Okay, I think I can get rid of that. This goes away. Let me get rid of this tail here. I'm gonna leave that tail there actually. This one, I'm gonna make shorter and have it end right there. I do know that I have one that is 62, or need one that's 62 to go all the way across. Like that. This can get trimmed. This needs to go... Actually, I'm not sure where that goes. Oh, that goes straight up all the way to this little jog backwards. So here, I'm going to use point filtering again to give myself a vertical like that. Okay, so something to pay attention to. We're going to use a new command that's called hatch. And for the hatch, basically the way it works is that you create a closed shape and you click inside it. You start your hatch command, you click inside it, and then it just puts all the hatches in. But in order for that to work, it needs to be a closed shape. So the way that I've done this might actually not yield great results. We'll have to see. If I'm being honest, I don't hatch very often because I use view base. This thing can go away. This can go away. Honestly, I think that's it. Does that look right? That gets hatched. Yeah, I think that's it. I can get rid of that. Okay, so let's see how this hatch works. So I just type hatch to start the command. You can also find it here. So you can, this is how you basically do a fill. So you you start your hatch command, and then it says pick an internal point, and it will gray out or, otherwise highlight the part that's gonna, or the area that will be hatched, and then click. Now it stays that color until you hit spacebar and then accept it. So I'm gonna hit spacebar to accept. Oh no, that's not what I want it to look like. I'll bet you if I zoom in, yeah. Okay, so the reason it's doing that is because we're in model space, and hatch is really something that kind of wants to be done in paper space. So the spacing here is so out of whack because this was in inches and it really wants to be in millimeters. So we can change that here by changing the scale for this particular hatch. So if I change this to like 25, it'll look more like the drawing. Okay, let's see why this didn't hatch when we asked it to. Let's start that command again. Oh look, it worked that time. Hit spacebar to accept it. Oh, I need to change this again. 25. Great. You also have some other options here. You can change the angle. Let's say that I want one to go one way and the other to go the other way. I can rotate that 90 degrees. You can change the transparency here. Like if you want it to be, less bold, that's a way to do it. You can change the patterns to a bunch of different standards. You can give it solids. It's very, very changeable. And how you, what those symbols mean exactly is kind of up to you. If you're working in industry, like let's say you're working for, I don't know, a company that does like a theater consulting company. I'm going to change that hatchback to 0. Hatchback. So if you're working for a theater consulting company that works with the construction industry, you absolutely should pay attention to what symbols they want you to use. For us, we don't have a specification. So most of the time, a 45-degree angle hatch is fine. But it's up to you. As long as your work is clear, that's whatever you choose is fine. Okay, I'm gonna move this down to that line that has all the other stuff on it. Oh, it's so big. Oh, I need to use that parallel O-snap again. Boom. I don't know why it keeps giving me invalid point, poor K. Whatever. There we go. All right, so that was one of the practice parts. We introduced hatch. We tried to take apart something that was a little bit more complicated. Honestly, that was kind of fun. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Have a good one.